Hi guys, I'm Darren, and in this video we're going to take a look at the SpeedyBee Mario 5 quad frame. SpeedyBee have just come up with a couple of new quad frames, and one of them is this SpeedyBee Mario 5. And we're going to take a quick look at this frame. Now let's have a quick look on the website so we can see what we're dealing with. Of course I'll put a link so you can just go and check it out yourself. And what they've actually sent me is the Mario 5 Dead Cat Advanced version. There's also a light version, and you can also get a standard X type frame as well if you're not a Dead Cat fan. This is actually my first Dead Cat. I've not flown them. I know people like them because of props out of view, and I know some people don't like them because they tend to have a different sort of twist with the thrust. I've not really gone for Dead Cats before, so it'd be interesting to see what this is like. And also, if you get the light version, there is an upgrade kit which has the intakes and all the 3D printed parts. You can see on the standard kit you don't really get much in the way of the 3D printed parts. It's just like the camera mounts and it looks like the rubber feet. And the upgrade parts basically do the rest to make it look like the advanced version. So let's have a quick look on here. You've got the wheelbases, there's some weights. They're both very similar. There's about 3 grams in it. And seeing as it's plus minus 5 grams, they're pretty much the same weight. So here's some information that might be useful is the plate thickness. So we have 2.5mm top plate, 2mm middle plate, 2.5 bottom plate. The arm is 6mm, so that's quite thick arms for a 5-inch. I think my AOS 5 is a similar thickness. But yeah, so if you're interested in all the stats and all the specs, check out their webpage. But let's go and have a look at the actual quad. Right, so my quad came in this shiny bubble wrap bag, but I don't really know if this is going to be the same as what you would get. And this is basically what we got in the bag. So we have the main frame parts, we have a battery strap, which let's have a look at that first. So it has got a rubberized grip on it, so that's quite nice. That's metal. So yeah, the only thing is it's standard nylon, it's not like a Kevlar or anything like that, but yeah, it seems like a pretty decent strap. It's a battery strap at the end of the day, but it is rubberized, so it's a bit more grippy. Right, so these parts here, other than these bits, are what make it the advanced version. So let's put that to the side and see what we get with the actual frame. Right, so that is everything out of the packaging. I'll just put that to the side. So here we have the arms. This is all vacuum formed, and then here we have the other plates. There's no, oh yeah, sorry, I was jumping the gun. There is actually a card in here for the manual. So let's open the accessories up. So we have the standard manual download card which we get from SpeedyBee, which is nice and useful. Right, so let's check out what we get. Right, so we have some rubber camera mounts. This little clear thing goes in the frame around here, and it's actually a space where you can put your receiver. We have some black standoffs, and we have a bag of bolts. We have some aluminium plates. They look like the feet, I think. So the feet aren't actually TPU, they're sort of a hard plastic. We have a rubber base for the battery to attach to so it doesn't slip. It's another one of those. I think that's where the camera goes. We have some more standoffs and a smaller screw pack. And that's everything we get. So that's the basic frame kit. And now what we'll do is we'll check out the additional stuff. So these rubbers were actually from the advanced kit, and they look very similar. Maybe they're a slightly different size, but they look very similar. So in the advanced kit, we get these aluminium sort of air scoops, and we get a load of TPU printed parts, and the printing is actually decent quality. I mean, to be honest, what I've seen from the other SpeedyBee stuff, their printing has been pretty decent. So that's great. We have a few more nuts and bolts. That's a post, I guess, to put your antenna in. And we have an XT60 connector, which is a panel mount. and also a U.FL antenna. Now, you know how much I hate U.FL, so hopefully I won't ever need to use this. So all this information is right underneath where we got to last time. If I scroll back up, you can see the specs. And it's just going over some of the details. So we have this aluminium head, which is the parts that we got out. That is in the standard kit. It's these air scoops, which they may direct some airflow back in here, but I think they just look cool, to be honest. Right, so yeah, these two little carbon parts that we've seen in the frame kit, they're actually for holding the capacitor in place. So you can have that underneath the main flight controller. It's not in the way, and it has somewhere to live. A lot of the time, the capacitor, in my build certainly, are just sort of floating behind near the battery wires. Prime example is my sort of first 5-inch. And you can see the capacitor is just there, straight on the pads. It doesn't move around a lot, but it'd be better if it had somewhere to live. Another nice thing that we can see here is the interlocking arms. So they've actually got an offset edge, so you can lock the arms together, making them nice and easy to situate and sort of take in and out and swap. So you can see these pins here, the arms just slide over the pins, and then there'll be a plate that goes on top. So that's quite nice. Here you can see the different power options. So you can come straight out the front. So the wires come out of this mount here, or you can use this, which actually, looking at the image, you pull that apart and you slide the XT60 inside it. So you don't even need to screw it down or anything like that. Let's get it in there. Oh, come on. Right, one side's in. There we go. So once you've bolted that to the frame, it's secure. Yeah, that's a really nice touch. SpeedyBee definitely think about these things when they design them. So this makes things so much easier. Getting it in is a bit stiff, but never mind. Once it's in, which you'll only really need to do once, then it's going to work really well. So I think I might go for this rear battery mount option. It seems like it makes sense to me, nice and easy to plug in and out. The only thing is it's quite near the antenna, but I think it'll be fine. Here you can see they're talking about the rear installation area for the receiver. So I guess you could probably fit like a ceramic type receiver in there. Not so good for range, but much better for antennas not being there. But you also have this area here, which looks like it's made for different size antennas to clip in. Now, I've not mentioned it yet because it wasn't listed at the top, but there is also a Pro version, which has this aluminium housing with some LEDs in the side. And it's made again for DJI 03. It would be nice if other systems also fit, because there are other systems that work just as well. But they're the main interesting things about this build. So what I'm going to do now is stick it together and we can have a quick look at how the frame looks. So as I go through this, I'm going to pause if I come against something that I quite like the look of or something I don't. I've just taken the frame parts out and you can see that they've already pressed in some trap nuts, which is always quite handy. And the parts are actually made really nice. The edges have got a slight bevel on some of them. This top edge doesn't feel like it's a little bit sharper than the bottom, but that edge is nice and smooth. The actual arms, they're chamfered. There's recesses in there for the motors, and this is the interlocking part that I was talking about. So I have the two longer arms for the rear, two shorter arms for the front, and yeah, they're all quite nicely made. Another nice touch is that these screw mounts have been recessed slightly so that the bolts don't foul so much. One thing you do need to watch out for is they do give you the bolt sizes on the instructions, but unfortunately on the bag they don't actually write the sizes on there. Now on some frames like the B35, the bags actually had labels on for what the screws are used for. I think that would probably be beneficial for all these other frames. So another nice thing about this area for the capacitor is it holds the legs quite tightly as well. So that's another good thing. These standoffs are actually really useful. I've obviously these don't go here. I've just screwed them on to hold these legs on while I was working on other areas. So yeah, having the long standoffs like that is quite cool. I appreciate that most frames do have these, but yeah, I figured I'd mention it so that I look like the idiot, but it might give people a bit of a tip when building stuff like this. Yeah, once you've got that middle plate on there, even though I haven't got any of these bolts in yet, this is pretty rigid. So that middle plate and that area for the capacitor really does a good job of holding everything together. But let's carry on. So the same screws that hold this little cover on also keep this TPU part in place. Now these are pretty small, so I'm guessing it's going to be this Allen key, which is a 1.5 millimeter, and yes. So let's get this in. So this could be the tricky part, is making sure the TPU is lined up before screwing in. And it's really tricky because I can't do it well on camera. Alright, so that's that in place. It looks quite cool. And while I'm here, I must say thank you. Someone got me these wearer Allen keys off my Amazon wish list. Unfortunately, I don't know who it was, but thank you very much. They are awesome. Highly recommended if you need a decent set of Allen keys. Right, so I'm not going to be able to screw these on because they're held on by the motors, but you can see they go there. They are quite tough plastic, so I don't know how well they'll survive too many landings, but I guess the proof is in actually getting out there and flying it. But yeah, they screw on with the motors. Well, they look quite cool. I like this honeycomb thing. Again, it's playing on the old bee theme, isn't it? It's quite cool. Right, so next up we have the camera area, which uses these aluminium parts here. I do love the fact that it's finished in black, but they've cut back one of the edges so that it's natural aluminium coming through. It looks awesome. And I have found out about these gummies. So you have two different sizes, and the gummies that you get with the advanced kit, they're a bit harder. These are a bit more squishy, but also it looks like they're offset further, and I'm guessing it's so that they can fit the 19mm camera that you get with the DJI. Having said that, it doesn't actually look like it makes much difference. So yeah, maybe it's a millimeter in further that way. But yeah, I'm guessing that these are for the DJI 03 because of that. And yeah, they're actually TPU, I believe, because it might even be PLA. It doesn't feel very rubbery. It's quite solid if it is TPU, whereas this is actually more like a rubber. But yeah, there are two offsets on this as well. So you have the central ridge, and then you have a smaller and a bigger groove, which will move the rubber in and out further. So if we put this in that way round, for example, you're going to have an extra millimeter in this side. If you put it that way round, it's going to be more flush here, but you have the space for a bigger camera there. So I think that this would work fine with any camera anyway. So yeah, I don't really know why they've got the harder mount. I think I prefer a bit more of a vibration isolation from the rubber ones that come with the standard kit, but you have them there as an option. Right, so these knurled ones are used in the camera section. They're actually a millimeter smaller than the ones that go through the frame. If you've got the advanced kit, make sure to install the little air vent parts before you put the other screw in the top. Right, I'm not installing these rubber bits just because I don't want to lose them. The only thing that holds them in position really is the camera. There's nothing to fix them, so it's really just a friction fit holding your camera in there. This bolt is for your GoPro. Okay, so at the moment there's only the two small screws here holding this whole assembly on, but it does feel quite solid. I'm sure the top plate, top plate screws in as well. But even with just those, it's quite rigid, so not bad. Right, so the next part is this, which, yeah, we can put an antenna in here, we can put our XT60 in there. I'm not going to bother with the XT60 yet because I'll solder the leads to it first. Makes a lot more sense. If you look in the manual, you can actually see that there is open source designs for different configurations with this. So instead of having the XT60, you could have a GPS module. There's also a version with two antennas or two SMAs, and also a single SMA with like the screws into it. So there's a few different options that you can have with this, and I'm sure they're all going to be on the SpeedyBee website. That's what they sort of made it apparent to me, is you should be able to get hold of these designs from them or others that will obviously get designed by the community. So this frame can be configured to however you like, but I'm just going to do the stock install for now. That's quite tight. So with regards to stacks, it looks like this is just for 30.5mm stacks. But it's a 5-inch frame, you don't need to go small. Right, so that's the bottom part complete, and this is really stiff. Once you get everything locked in on the bottom plate, this is a pretty stiff frame. Even torsionally, it seems pretty solid, and of course there's no top plate on yet. So yeah, of course we're dealing with a 30.5mm stack, I'm pretty certain. Yep, so that's where that will go. I will be using the SpeedyBee F405 stack version 4 in this. If you've seen my B35 unboxing, I was going to put it in that, but then SpeedyBee offered me one of these to check out, so that's actually going in here, and I've bought another stack that's gone in the B35. I'll go a little bit more into how I'm going to build this up later, but let's finish getting this built. Now, according to the manual, the capacitor should actually fit in this hole. Let's have a quick look. I've got my box of caps. I mean, this one's quite big. 35 volt, 1000, doesn't quite fit. 35 volt, 7470, yeah, that fits. This is a Rubicon, 50 volt, 470, that fits. So yeah, I think you're going to be able to find a cap that fits, just not one of the absolutely huge ones that you get sometimes. So the last thing to install is the top plate, and that groove there actually slots into here to keep everything in place. I mean, I guess you're going to have potentially battery wires coming out of here if you choose that installation, so you want something that's fairly rigid. Right, so other than this that hasn't been stuck down, because I'm going to do that when I do the real build, there is the finished frame. So you can see actually these screws are almost touching the top. It'd be nice actually if they located in little divots in the top, I guess, give it a bit more structural rigidity. But in all honesty, this is quite a stiff, strong frame. So I'm looking forward to getting this in the air. But yeah, it went together pretty well. If you follow the instructions, which to be honest, I didn't for half of it, which is why, you know, I forgot to put these bits in, then you can't really go wrong. SpeedyBee have been pretty good with their instructions and their manuals. They always seem to go the extra mile. I've especially noticed that with their flight controllers. And building this following the manual was no issue whatsoever. Right, so this didn't actually take me that long to build, even though I was sort of struggling trying to do things in camera. And yeah, I can't actually wait to get this thing up in the air. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be using SpeedyBee's F405 V4 stack. I'll put a little receiver in the bottom, probably ELRS, because all of my quads are on that at the moment. Video, I don't know what I'm going to do for video. Maybe I'll try and get a walk snail system in there, see where that fits. There's space in the back here for a digital video system, so that could go in there, and obviously an antenna out there. So other than that, the only other thing is motors, and I think I'm going to try and stick with this whole black and white flying thing scheme and get the RC and Power Wasp motors. I think they'll suit the frame quite well. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. As I've mentioned in another video, I will be away for a bit because of work, so it will take a little bit of time. So if you've got any suggestions for different motors, please leave them in the comments. I will be running 4S. I haven't updated my 5 inches to 6S. They're all running 4S, so it seems little point in me changing that at this point in time. So I will be getting 4S motors, and yeah, having some fun with it. I do like the look of this frame, and also it's a good price point. We haven't actually discussed prices, though they probably appeared on screen. So the light versions of both the Dead Cat and the X configuration is $34, which, you know, it's a cheap frame and it seems decent for the money. The advanced version with the extra sort of nice aluminium parts and all the TPU parts is an extra $5. It's $40. For that, I was actually thinking when I was building it, I would probably get the advanced version anyway with all their TPU stuff, because then you get stuff like the little bracket for the antenna mount, you get the panel mount XT60, you also get the bolt for the GoPro stuff. So even if you do decide to print all your own stuff out of TPU, you've got all these accessories already for your TPU prints. You don't need to try and source them elsewhere. It might just save a bit of hassle, especially if you're printing these exact designs just in a different color, for example. I mean, an XT60 connector like that will probably cost you $2. So for the extra $5, I think you may as well just get all the parts, plus you get these cool aluminium bits, which I really like the contrast of the gold and the yellow. At this point in time, it seems like a nice, well-made frame. Went together easy. Next thing will be how well it flies. Yeah, I'm not the best quad pilot in the world. I'm quite happy to admit that. But yeah, looking forward to flying it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope this video was useful to you. Maybe it's helped you decide whether you want to get this or not. Again, I don't try to sell stuff like this. I just try and give you information so you can make the decision yourself. I don't class myself as an influencer or anything like that. It's your decision. I just want to give you as much information as I can and my thoughts on it. But yeah, fly your quads like you stole them. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.